Welcome to this week's Faces of Africa podcast, the show that brings you 30 minutes of human interest documentaries from across Africa. My name is Jeff Muthee, and today with me on the podcast I have the man, the legend, the myth, in flesh, Mr. Daniel Furnad himself. Welcome to the podcast, Daniel.
You got my name right. I appreciate that. It's great to be here again, Jeff. It's always good to talk to you.
Fantastic. So without wasting so much time, I'm so excited this week. You're dropping in several documentaries in a row, and the first one is dropping this Sunday, right? So straight into it, what is this documentary all about?
So this is Darlington Akogo, Ghana's AI genius. And he is the smartest person you're ever going to meet, probably, maybe except for my son, Bobby. But Darlington is a genius. I use that word not lightly. He's designed an AI system for healthcare that has surpassed anything that Google or any other big tech giant has put together to tackle healthcare. And it's already providing amazing results in over 50 countries. Mm-hmm. And you'll find a lot about the potential of AI in a lot of other areas through this film as well.
Fantastic. What inspired you as the producer to tell this particular story of Darlington?
Well, I was working on an illegal gold mining story in Ghana, which is coming out in a few weeks. And I happened to be looking for somebody that represented AI. The DeepSeek success was getting a lot of press, and people were really talking about artificial intelligence. So I looked around in Ghana and found this guy, and then I started to notice that Darlington was showing up at all these international events. Mm-hmm. I mean, he really had a lot of fame within the AI industry. So I had a call with him, and he blew me away with how smart he is. He blew me away with the way he sees the world and the way he sees AI in the world. And I thought he was a really cool guy. So nice. I thought he would make a good subject. Okay. So booked a flight out to Ghana and met him. And, everything that I wanted to learn, I found out, but so much more.
Fantastic. I know you've mentioned Darlington quite a bit, but talk to us about the characters in the documentary.
Yeah, well, he works very closely with a lab that does both infectious diseases and not infectious diseases. Mm-hmm. And again, some really smart scientists there, but people that really care about what they're doing to fight certain problems like malaria across the continent. I went out with him and his friends to a brewery that they go to on Friday nights. And it was a bunch of young techies that are supporting each other, that have big visions for every, sector that they're in. Yes. But really a community that cares about each other and thinks big. I met his PA, Jessie, who you'll see in a lot of the shots, and we give a special thanks to. And she's a really special person that works her butt off to help him keep up with everything that's going on. And then just his team. He's got a bunch of young people that work for him. Fantastic. That are really committed, that are really smart, that really think through problems. It's quite impressive.
Fantastic. So how was your experience filming this documentary? Tell us the good, the bad, the ugly. Later on us.
Well, quite frankly, everybody in Africa knows people have a hard time keeping time here. Yeah. So there were gaps in what we were doing, and we were able to fill those gaps because we're working on a couple of other documentaries. We were able to fill those gaps and be able to get things done right. But overall, it was very enjoyable. I mean, the people that I met, that Darlington's lives have touched, were really happy to talk about him, happy to talk about how AI is affecting their lives, their livelihoods, etc. African people are nice people, and I found that, being in Ghana again, I hadn't been there for 10 years, was really gratifying. Yeah, I mean, people really were happy to cooperate, happy to tell me about their lives, and you'll see a lot of that in this film.
Fantastic. You've mentioned Africa. How does this documentary impact the African continent?
Well, again, Darlington, says, not to spoiler alert, yeah, at the end, he talks about, how healthcare is ground zero in Africa. Africans face some of the worst challenges and some of the worst health infrastructure.
Yes.
So the ability and some of the fewest doctors per person, per thousands of people in population. So the ability for doctors to get help, to get a machine that can take in all the different circumstances, not just the tests that have been done, but the family history, the gene sequences, the new treatments and available medicines.
Yes.
For those and for these, AIs that eventually create medicines that are specific to African problems.
Correct.
It will put Africa on a par, on an even footing with the rest of the world in terms of healthcare.
Fantastic. And I like what he says, that in as much as AI is helping Africa and helping the world, and it's like bringing a lot of, a lot of results and a lot of change. I like the way he talks about trying to regulate, come up with an organization or an authority or a body that regulates AI. What's your take on that?
Well, again, and he makes the point, for all the great things that AI could do for us, they could bring the costs of almost every service we want, down to almost zero. There is an existential threat. I mean, somebody who has enough money and who has nefarious plans on how to use AI could devise bad germs or bad diseases to put on people. He could make an army of robots. I mean, there is the possibility, however slight, that the iRobot scenario that AI would decide they don't need us humans. So he's working hard, and he talks about some of his efforts to get the AI lab community to help regulate, but also to impress upon governments that they also need to have an active role in regulation.
Fantastic. On a lighter note, do you think AI will ever take over the world and fight us as humans?
No, Darlington makes this point that, that it's up to us right now. And at these early stages of development of AI, it's up to us to take the actions that'll prevent this from happening. But really, would you ever want to do without humans? We're so great to hang around with.
True, very true. So what will be the key takeaways of this documentary to the audience?
Well, I think the key takeaways are that AI is coming. And it can improve your lives if you embrace it. It can bring down costs, it can maximize efficiency, and it can invent new things that'll help us develop much quicker. The second thing is, don't necessarily fear that you're going to lose your job to AI, because to some extent it's inevitable that jobs are going to be lost. We're going to have to, as Darlington says, reinvent ourselves as humans a bit, but it could end up that we end up in lives of luxury where we have the time and the capacity to exercise, to create, to enjoy the environment and the world that we live in. Fantastic. As long as we use AI to our advantages. And lastly, I think that is what you brought up before, is the regulation, is the idea that we need to ask our leaders to look closely at this technology. And not to only look at manufacturing or transport or things like that. We need to look at how science is going to impact our lives in the future and make sure that we can get our hands around that science.
Fantastic. All right, my final question, Daniel, is the film is only 30 minutes long. So we know there's a lot that did not make it in those precious 30 minutes. A lot. Yeah. What did not make onto the film?
Okay. So the one part that I cut that hurt me the most when I cut was we had some students. You'll see in the film a training center where Darlington's allowed has equipped the training center with an AI program to help the kids learn how to communicate with AI. To be able to further their studies, but also to make them ready to use AI in their jobs in the future. And we had some interviews with the kids, and they're just so enthusiastic and really hit the nail on the head of it's going to prepare me for the future.
All right. I can't wait to watch this documentary, and I urge our audience across Africa to tune into Faces of Africa this coming Sunday from 12:30 East African time. Right?
Right.
And let's watch this great AI documentary that's changing Africa. Thank you so much, Daniel, for being on the podcast.
Thank you again, Jeff, and I look forward to the future Faces of Africa
Fantastic.
episodes.
Fantastic.